Pro.Gnosis, a podcast with Armon Ree.
Hello everyone, this is episode 14 of Pro.Gnosis, and we have a returning guest. This is the third time he's been on this podcast. I am talking about Reality Sceptic, or Luke, if you prefer. So how are things, Luke?
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you again. It's been a few months, and
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of things around the world or in this, let's say, truth-seeking sphere. But my life has kind of been kind of a stagnant or kind of a not really sure what to do in the future. But other than that, everything's good.
Excellent. Well, excellent, the part that everything's good, and sometimes a bit of, a hermitage can do wonders. Sometimes, we don't need to always have something going on. It's a bit like that idea that is usually, sold nowadays about enterprises, right? That they always need to grow. Grow the market, grow the profits, grow this, grow that, and that is completely artificial. That is not how it happens. There is a growth for things, and then they become stable. They're supposed to become stable. I'm not saying that this is your case in particular, but it's like if you're building your house, there will come a time when the house is completed. You're not always adding new rooms, right? So it may require sometimes a bit of stopping, at least to see what was done before, and then the answers to where you should go can also emerge. I don't
Yeah,
know if you agree with that, but
yeah. Obviously, some episodes or some parts of life are like that. There are
Mhm.
parts of big dynamic changes, and there are moments when there's like seemingly nothing is going on. I'm gonna tell you a funny story
Mm.
regarding my kind of a job, kind of a work related life, because I think that's going to be a interesting entry point for some other topics.
Mhm.
And since I'm kind of I did for the last, like, say, half a year or maybe even closer to a year, like some smaller BS jobs, right? I was sitting in my
Right.
small town in my apartment and kind of doing over the internet, let's say some documentation work or calculations or Excel, those kind of BS jobs, part
Mhm.
time, more than full time, right? So I started applying for maybe some kind of bigger jobs, like maybe I thought I will return to some engineering jobs, and I tried smaller companies with less success. So I applied for trying to apply for some bigger companies like Samsung, right? The big monstrous company of Samsung, right? And they very fast replied to me and gave me a pretty decent job offer in R&D department as an engineer for
Mhm.
testing devices, right? So, and I thought, wow, this is strange. I was kind of searching for jobs for months and like nothing interesting, and suddenly this big company, this global company replies and just like fast and like I didn't even tried in the job. You have meeting with the engineers and the HR, and I didn't even try. Like,
Mhm.
and they give me a job offer without me even doing anything special, right?
Right.
And it's kind of strange. But after a few days of thinking, sitting on it, I had this like intuitive sense, like this, like those big corporations, the atmosphere in those companies is like some kind of there is some kind of a egregore negative energy hanging around you, if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yeah.
and I felt this, yeah, I had this opportunity. I better money than ever, right? I had opportunity of working in this R&D, research and development department and engineering. For some people, it's like the dream come true, right? And I felt, nah, this is not for me. I felt this energy of this company on these people is like so negative, so harsh. Like I'm not gonna work for Samsung. I'm gonna search for some smaller job or some kind of, and I refuse at the last moment, right? So
Right.
it's kind of funny because internally I feel good, right, with this decision because it was clear, intuitive, peaceful decision.
Mm-hmm.
But on the outside, and when my family, when my mother, even when she realized what I did, and because I told her after a few weeks, and like externally is like everything is like the opposite, right? Internally, I feel good with the decision, and externally, it's like my family thinks I'm lost it, I'm crazy or something,
Oh yeah.
like refusing working for Samsung in an R&D departments. Like
Yeah.
they think I lost my mind. It's like
Don't they always anyway? So.
yeah, 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 yeah. And money is not. I still have my some small savings and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, but I'm not, the particularly wealthy at this point. But
Mm-hmm.
like everything on the external is the opposite, and the internal, I feel peace with that decision. But it's like strange. Like you have this kind of a division outside, in your sphere. Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean, right?
Yeah. Well, two things that I would like to say to that. One is it's interesting that you mentioned egregore because the way that the really multinational companies work is like egregores, where they amass the biggest amount of talent that they can. So you know, to get you would mean that it's one less available for someone else. And it's interesting because you actually prefer something smaller. You prefer to use your skills for a smaller company, of course, making less money and having at least, a sense of perhaps, more peace of mind. But that is, in fact, how they work. They try to amass, to converge onto them, as much talent as they can to dry the well for everyone else, and that's in all layers of business. That's exactly how it works, and that's how they manage to dry everyone else around them, like an egregore does. The second thing that I would like to say is, your surroundings, your context, be it family, be it friends, society, etc., will always judge you. Always. They will judge you if you take the job. They will judge you if you don't take the job. They will judge you if you're happy. They will judge you if you're sad. And this has to do with, trying to put bright people, and when I say bright here is not necessarily in terms of intelligence, which you are, but in terms of the natural brightness, the essential brightness, the being I don't know, light within, right? They try to put it in a box. They try to put these people particularly in a box, in the same way that in school or whatever, a bully always picks on the best, the most brightest kid. Why? Because he is the threat, right? The brightest, if he's allowed to shine, everyone that isn't up to that level won't be able to have any place, right? Any place, of prominence. And so the bullies will judge to try to bring you back to a box and try to format you into something that they can deal with. All right. So I think that you acted in accordance to your individuality, to your will, and I am completely. I understand and completely in agreement with your decision, given what you've said.
Yeah, the yes, thanks. And the metaphysical stuff, that is really interesting for me because this idea that we live within some kind of matrix, let's call it, for simplicity, right? Even though I don't think there is a correct term for it. I mean, simulation, simulacra, whatever, right? This theory about all those kind of that we live in some kind of enclosed system, and I find it very interesting that I'm not particularly saying that there is a case or there isn't this case, but
Mm-hmm.
how has it happened that this company in particular, this, the biggest company that I applied to, actually, it almost seemed like they targeted me. Like since I started applying for jobs, there is this kind of metaphysical feedback loop, like this company, right? No other smaller engineering companies, no some outside the city, some small, just the biggest one actually gave me the best offer. It's almost like it was meant to be this way, or in other words, it all was like a test for, like the
Hmm.
matrix or the simulation tests you with, like, metaphysically, right? I don't know how to even say it because it sounds like woo and stuff
Hmm.
like that, but it almost like this there is some kind of a artificial intelligence, and obviously we talked about it in the past
Hmm.
somewhat, but I'm just making a broader statement so we can dive into details later on, right? But
Hmm.
it's like as almost I've been targeted by the matrix. Oh, this guy is awake, we need to give him the biggest obstacle, or if not obstacle, the biggest, kind of wealth opportunity, so maybe he will, go in some other directions. Almost it almost felt like it was designed, targeted in a metaphysical way. I don't know if that makes sense to you, like
It
what I said.
does. It does, although I would disagree with the idea that it is, the matrix or the simulation. As you know, I don't subscribe to the idea
Yeah.
of a simulation, world. In in the literal sense, of course, there is a virtual world of perception that egregores play a part, and etc. But all of those come from us. Basically, we create and feed them. So I would say that, yes, you're reading it correctly, that it was a test, but it was a test from within yourself. So you were looking for a job. So the job didn't come to you out of nowhere. You went and looked. So you began an action of looking for a job. And the job that came, the offer that came, was, yes, a conspiracy, but a conspiracy from within you, which
Hmm.
means that there's a part of you, most probably, of course, a mental character that, you know, perhaps would think that you're on the wrong path for its own interests, in regards to what is used to thinking life is, that conspires to, offer you a way to change your path. Interestingly, you acted with your ego instead of your mental character. And your decision, clearly, from how you've described it, was entirely based upon your individual ego, the one that is supposed to be the filter and the decision center. And so you thwarted that conspiracy that came from within you. And I am certain that you will eventually find a way uh, out, in the sense of, you want to be doing something, and of course being paid for it, but in a different level than those types of enticing temptations, let's say.
Yeah.
So that would be my reading. I think that the conspiracy, yes, came from within you, because you were the one generating the opportunity.
Yeah, and that is somewhat for many people, and for me, it's always I've been bouncing between those kind of ideas. How
Hmm.
much this reality is, there is this intelligence which observes you, right? Like in this kind of Westworld scenario or
Hmm.
whatever, right? And what part of it is my internal, like, kind of a feedback. I mean, this kind of a energy that. It drives my kind of life, let's say. How is the interaction and the dance between, like, those kind of energies, and obviously we have some differences between us when it comes to
Hmm.
looking at this reality, but and I'm not saying that we live in obviously I'm not thinking that we live in a technical kind of a computer simulation, because I'm not fully aboard with those ideas, but there are some ideas that I respect, people who have this kind of a
Hmm.
view of this world being run by some kind of AI and stuff like that, right?